Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Leather and Willow after a long hiatus. This is me, Aashrit, here all the way from Switzerland, and I have Dr. Siddhartha with me. Today, we're going to be talking about the much-awaited Border-Gavaskar Trophy. India have traveled all the way to Australia, been in a bubble, and they're all set to start with a pink ball test in Adelaide from the 17th of December. The series itself has a long history to it, named after two of probably the greatest cricketers that Australia and India have produced, Sunil Gavaskar and Alan Border. Started in 1997. This is the 15th edition of the Border-Gavaskar Trophy, and I'm sure Sid has a lot of memories to share about the tournament.
Yeah, Aashrit, like you said, it is one of the most marquee events when India and Australia face off for a test series. And not too many teams play 4 test series. Of course, let's not get into the politics of that. With regards to the Border-Gavaskar Trophy, I'll just top of my mind, 2 very important days of Test cricket that I think I watched in my limited viewing career. I was present at the Chepauk Stadium when the epic Sachin Tendulkar versus Shane Warne, the first time that the two legends were going to face off, happened. Shane Warne got him very early in the first innings. I think caught it first slip by Mark Waugh or Mark Taylor. I don't recall. But I was there in the second innings when Sachin Tendulkar made 155. I took the train from Vidya Mandir, Mylapore station, and I think by the time I reached, he was already batting on 49. And then he was not out at the end of the day, and he had made a magnificent 155. And that was the beginning of that season where he really tamed Shane Warne and all his skill. And the other Border-Gavaskar game that I recall very fondly is in 2013, again at Chepauk when Mahendra Singh Dhoni scored his highest test score. He made 200 runs. He scored 224 or 229, and in a single day. And it was just mayhem the way he just unleashed against the Aussies. So I remember these 2 very important memories that I have of watching the Border-Gavaskar Trophy. Now, coming to this edition of the Border-Gavaskar Trophy, we know that there is a lot at stake. Let's very quickly go into the Indian team and go through what you think will be what are the things that we need to discuss in today's episode. Obviously, the big question on everybody's mind: Virat Kohli is leaving. Congratulations to him for being a father, to be a father soon. There's going to be a lot of juggling that he's going to have to do. And what impact will Virat Kohli have in the first and the only test that he's going to play? For sure, we know that he will want to leave a mark with the bat and he knows how crucial the first test of a series away from home can be. And this is a pink ball. India doesn't have so much of experience with the pink ball. Virat Kohli did not play the warm-up match because he said they were playing too many games. Yes, almost every alternate day they were playing a game when the T20 and the ODI series happened, and then subsequently the warm-up games happened as well. So the impact that Virat Kohli is going to have, not as a captain, but as a player, I think I'm very eager to see if he can, because the swinging ball can be a handful for Virat Kohli. We know that he has a tendency to play away from the body. So what impact Virat Kohli will leave on the game and on the series is going to be very, very interesting to watch.
I'm sure it's going to be very interesting to watch. Another factor to consider is something to talk about is the absence of Ishant Sharma and bringing back Umesh Yadav in his place. To be very honest with you, I don't remember when was the last time I saw Umesh Yadav bowl actually wearing the white jersey. Ishant Sharma, actually, there's a very interesting statistic that over the years, ever since he started bowling, there has never been a single year where his economy rate has gone, his bowling average has gone below what it was there the previous year. So he's always been improving right from the start. And he has been a very, very crucial bowler for India, especially in Australia. If you remember the beautiful spell he bowled to Ricky Ponting, I think it was in 2008, if I'm not wrong. That's something that people always keep watching again and again and again. So not having Ishant Sharma, will it be a big blow for India? We'll have to wait and watch. Of course, you have people like Bumrah and Shami there in the pace attack, but then you don't know how much of a workload you can give on them, especially considering there's going to be 4 tests in the series.
Yeah, I think, like you said, the factor why we will miss Ishant Sharma is for the control that he brought. Now, he was able to hold one end up with very meager runs. He was not giving runs away, and that created a lot of pressure, which the bowlers at the other end were able to exploit. Now, I don't think Umesh Yadav, it's fair to think that Umesh Yadav can do that kind of a role, but definitely of the pace options that India had, going with Umesh made sense because of the experience that Umesh Yadav has, and of course he brings a very different angle and he brings a very different aspect of pace. His pace is very skiddy and it's quite different from what a Shami or a Bumrah would be able to generate. I think the holding one end up job will now go to Ravichandran Ashwin. And Hanuma Vihari, I suppose we will see him roll his arm over too, because he is the only recognized fifth bowler in the squad. Now, Ashwin, a lot of history is stacked against him because the pink ball has not been kind to spinners. That's what the stats tell us. Nathan Lyon, of course, is an exception, but the sample size is very small, even for somebody like Lyon. But we do hope that Ashwin can rise up to the occasion. And even if he holds one end up, I think we will see the likes of Shami and Bumrah being able to extract a lot of swing under the lights, which seems to be a big challenge for the batsman with the pink ball.
And coming to the next point, of course, as you mentioned, Virat Kohli is going to be leaving after the first test. We have Ajinkya Rahane, who's going to be coming in as the captain. What do you think about the impact that Ajinkya Rahane will have as a captain, or the impact that he may not have?
In his limited time as a captain, Ajinkya Rahane has not done anything wrong. I think it's a small sample size, but he has definitely been a very astute captain. And a lot of people, especially the former players, all remark that Ajinkya Rahane is cut out for the job, and he has been the vice captain to Kohli for quite some time. I think this is an opportunity for Rahane, because the first test, even for him, he doesn't have to do the job. He can let Virat Kohli take over, but he knows that he has 3 games, and more importantly, he knows that one of the things that when you take over from a captain, especially from a dominating personality like Virat Kohli, having that person continue to play in the 11 is a very different feeling compared to not having that person, I would think. So Rahane's, and it was good to see Rahane among the runs in the warm-up games as well. So I think Rahane's captaincy is there's not much to scrutinize, because we know he's just filling in. But I'm sure he would love to take up the challenge, and because considering that the test format is the only one where he is an India regular, he has to rise up to the occasion like the other test regulars as well.
Let's hope that his challenge proves fruitful and he's able to prove himself here. Not that he has anything to prove, of course. But coming to the next point, Virat Kohli leaving the team is going to leave a bit of a blotch in the middle order, with most of the replacements incoming are going to be youngsters. You have people like Hanuma Vihari, you have Shubman Gill, Prithvi Shaw, Mayank Agarwal all coming into the team. So do you think the middle order is going to be a bit fragile in this case?
We know that India has announced their 11 a day ahead of the test, quite surprisingly. Mayank Agarwal, everybody expected him to open. Obviously, he's the incumbent opener. I was honestly surprised to see Prithvi Shaw edge Shubman Gill out for the opener slot, because I thought, given recent form, and especially with the warm-up games, I thought that Shubman Gill did press for his case. But they've gone with Prithvi Shaw, and we know that Prithvi Shaw can be a very attacking opener who can get the quick runs. We don't know if that's why they preferred him over Mayank Agarwal, over Shubman Gill. Cheteshwar Pujara, yes, of course, solid bedrock at number 3. Virat Kohli and Ajinkya Rahane with Hanuma Vihari, pretty stable. Now, in the absence of Virat Kohli, now who comes in? We saw in the games, the warm-up games, when Virat Kohli didn't play, Rahane didn't move up to number 4. He kept his position of number 5, and it was Hanuma Vihari who moved up to number 4. I hope that doesn't happen in the test games after Virat Kohli leaves. Whether Shubman Gill will fill at number 4, or will Rohit Sharma come in, or will KL Rahul come in, is, you have 3 very different options. On form, you know that Rahul is the guy whom you would go to. Gill has been very promising in the red ball cricket games that he has played after he's landed in Australia. But is he capable enough of filling somebody like Virat Kohli? Because mind you, it would be Gill's debut. Whereas we know that Rahul has scored away hundreds and he has more experience than Gill. Or would you go in for the most experienced candidate, which is Rohit Sharma, is a big question. Or would number 4 position suit Rohit? Would he want to play at number 6, thereby pushing Hanuma Vihari up? It's going to be very interesting. But whichever way, I think that the Indian middle order will have a very different look to it in the absence of Virat Kohli. And it would be interesting to see what the future holds for us in Test cricket. Because eventually we will have to move on from the Pujaras and the Rahanes. And the guys who are going to come in are going to be the Rahuls and the Shubman Gills. So it will be an interesting swap. And I was happily surprised to see Vridhiman Saha be the wicketkeeper for this game and not Pant, despite his flamboyant 100 in the last session of the warm-up game. I think, given that the ball is likely to do a bit, they've gone with the best gloveman in the squad, and that is definitely Vridhiman Saha. No surprises with Ashwin because we know that Jaddu is not in a position to take the field yet. Umesh replacing Ishan Sharma makes sense because he's the most experienced of the lot. And of course, Mohammad Shami and Jasprit Brumah, we are all excited to see them play with the pink ball. Now, let's look at the Australian team, Aashrit. Now, I want to push it back to you. There's a big hole right at the top in the absence of David Warner, who's got the most runs for Australia in pink ball games. And losing him, at least for the first test, for sure, we know he's not going to play. It is a bit of an impact advantage to India, won't you say?
I think it's a big advantage to India because Warner is somebody who's very intimidating to the opponents, and once he gets in song, and then you just can't stop him until he decides that probably you wait for him to make a mistake. And the impact that Warner brings to the team is something that is unmatchable because he lays such a good foundation for the team so that everybody is more confident when they go onto the field. They already have a base setup, and they can notch up a very big total on the boards, which is going to make it very tough for the opponents to go through. And especially his leadership skills as well. He is a formidable leader. Unfortunately, he lost the chance to continue his leadership role after the incident. So not having him on the field as a leader is going to be a big loss to Australia as well.
I think the other loss that the absence of Warner means is that, as it is, the Australians were not sure who's going to open with Warner, though he put his weight behind Joe Burns over Pukovski. And now with Pukovski out of contention because of concussion, and with Warner gone, suddenly the Australian openers are a big question mark. And now they're looking at Matthew Wade to open with Joe Burns, who has not made enough runs to warrant his position in the team. So if you look at the Australian team, they have a pretty similar problem compared to the Indian middle order, because either side of Smith and Labuschagne, they have loads of inexperience, right? So you have Matthew Wade and Joe Burns at the top of the order. Then you have, of course, the two great batting champs, Steve Smith and Marnus Labuschagne, followed by Travis Head and probably Cameron Green. So it means that there is a lot of inexperience with regards to the test batting. This is probably not the best test openers that Australia can put out at the start of a series, and probably not the best middle order that Australia, because Cameron Green will be playing his first game, so there's a lot of expectations on him, but you don't know what you can expect, right? So and this will be the first time that Smith is going to play Jasprit Bumrah in the test format. So a lot of expectations between that face-off as well. So they need to find the balance in their 11. Is this the best 11, or is this the best 11 that they can put out at this point of time? So that is, I think, the absence of Virat Kohli which India will face, has kind of been squared off with the fact that Australia is also having a lot of injury scares in their camp. And to note, Smith missed training for a couple of days because of a back issue. He has resumed training today. It still is uncertain at this point whether he will take the field tomorrow.
And just to add to that, I like how you didn't even consider Tim Paine as a batsman in the batting order. I think even Australia stopped considering him as a batsman, considering he's been playing for over 12 years now, and his highest test score has been 91.
No disrespect to Tim Paine, but he's definitely not batsman, right? He's not somebody whom you would call their batsman. He is their wicketkeeper bat. So his primary job is wicket keeping, and the fact that it's like I didn't count Wriddhiman Saha as a batsman either. So I think I extended the same courtesy to Tim Paine.
Okay, I think you've managed that well. But coming to the bowling of Australia, they have simply a formidable bowling attack in the pace pack that they have with Mitchell Starc, with Pat Cummins and Josh Hazlewood, supported by Nathan Lyon with the spin department. So that is going to be a huge factor for Australia. And considering that Pat Cummins, Josh Hazlewood, Mitchell Starc are all in the top 10 in the bowling rank, and in fact, 5 out of the top 10 in the rankings are bowlers who are going to be playing in this match. This includes Bumrah and Ashwin from the Indian team as well. So what do you think about the bowling attack of Australia, and should India be worried about it?
just to counter that, the 5 of the top 10 bowlers in Test rankings are playing against 6 of the top 10 batsmen in Test rankings. So you have Virat Kohli, Steve Smith, Labuschagne who are in the top 4, and there's also David Warner, Pujara, and Rahane who come up in the top 10 ranking. So it is definitely mouth-watering because the best Test bowlers between both the teams are going to face off with the best Test batsmen according to the ICC rankings. So yes, there's a lot at stake because we know that it's going to be a face-off of India's best versus Australia's best. No, it's going to be a face-off between the world's best batsmen versus the world's best bowlers. So in that sense, it is definitely going to be a very competitive series, and that's what they're all saying. Both captains are underplaying the traditional India-Australia rivalry and saying we just want to put out good cricket for the public, and it's probably the best way to end 2020, watching some good, old-fashioned, well-fought-out Test matches. Now, to answer your question about Australia's bowling, there's very little that I need to add to our viewers who already don't know. Mitchell Starc, Josh Hazlewood, and Pat Cummins are amongst the best fast bowlers at this point of time in the world. And in Australian conditions, they know exactly the line and length to bowl. And I'm sure they're waiting to come out with all guns blazing. And Nathan Lyon, probably right behind Ashwin, as amongst the best spinners that we have seen in this decade. And like I mentioned before, he has very good figures with the pink ball. Not many spinners have that. Of course, not many spinners have the experience that Nathan Lyon has as well with the pink ball. But even with the red ball, I think Nathan Lyon is going to be a difficult one to play for India because he has shown success against India. And the fact that Mitchell Starc roughs up, the wicket for him to exploit at a later point of time helps somebody like Nathan Lyon, and he makes maximum advantage out of it, takes maximum advantage from it.
That was a wonderful, very technical analysis of the Australian bowling team. Before we end, I'd just like to end with a small trivia. So Australia haven't won the Border-Gavaskar trophy since 2014, and the trophy hasn't come home since 2014. An interesting fact, in the 2004-2005 series, Australia won the Border-Gavaskar trophy in India, winning it 2-1, and retained it again in the subsequent series in 2007-2008 in Australia, again being the timeline of 2-1. India won it in India in 2016-17 and retained it in Australia in 2018-19, and again with timelines of 2-1s in both. So it's a nice coincidence to see once you start looking at patterns and all of that. It's going to be a wonderful contest. If you're in India, the daylight match for once is going to start a little later, around 9 a.m. If you're anywhere in Europe, you're going to have to wake up at 4 to watch the match. If you're in Australia, of course, you can watch it at 2:30 with some popcorn in your hand. Or if you're in the stadium, you can even cheer for your team. So that's it from my side.
Just before we close, Aashrit, the most interesting fact also being that neither of the teams have retained the trophy more than once. So the longest streak that either of these two teams have had is they have won and they have retained it once, but they have lost it in the series after. So right now, India has a chance to break that because we won it, like you said, in 2016-17. We retained it in 18-19. Can we retain it one more time? And that would be the longest streak that either of the teams have had with the Border-Gavaskar trophy. So a lot at stake. And traditionally, like I said, the first game of the series in Australia is a very difficult one. But this time, India seems to have had a fair amount of practice. They had 2 games, 2 warm-up games, and they have been in Australia for quite some time now. So, yep, there's a lot to look forward to. And I hope you're getting up early tomorrow morning to watch the game.
Let's see about that.
Sounds a little difficult, doesn't it?
When the temperature outside is -6 degrees, I don't think you would want to wake up that early. But for cricket, I would do anything. So let's see.
I don't. It's nice that you blame the temperature, but I don't think you would have woken up at 4 a.m. even if the temperature was 20 degrees. So we'll have to have Ravi Kumar sir on the show to put that to check that statistics with him. All right. Thank you so much, Aashrit. It was good catching up. It's been a while, right? I mean, we haven't done an episode after IPL. So let's probably have a mid-series review and see what happens after the first 2 games.
For sure. We can do that as well, and we can bring out some more content.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.